Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. I'm V. Krishna Shankar, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, SCAD College of Engineering and Technology. I would like to introduce today's presenter, our alumni engineer 2016 batch, Mr. Arul Pradeep, an interior designer, freelancer working in Bangalore. We would love to hear from you the future of civil engineering in India. So before that, before the starting the session, I will give a few instructions about it. Uh, Please, participants, submit your queries and comments to the live chat box. After the completion of the session, feedback form link will be provided at the end in live chat box. After the successful completion of your feedback form, e-certificate will be provided to all candidates. And also the recorded version of this webinar will be available in the YouTube. So I hand over the session to Mr. Arul Pradeep.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be a part of this ongoing webinar series, which is a great initiative conducted by the SCAD set management, and I'm happy to be part of it. Hope you all doing good and staying in home. So today I'm going to deliver about the future of civil engineering in India. Not only that, we will also see how the civil engineers are struggling in industry and finding it difficult to place them inside their job and much more. So let's jump into the presentation. But before I begin, I just want to give you a small information that the following presentation is based on several articles and experts who have analyzed and done the research about the current situation and also the future predictions. Let's jump into the presentation. Um, so here's the overview of today's presentation. What are all the major points we will be covering and discussing today? I'm just going to give you an overview about it. So first one is that how is engineering program in India? So not going much deeper about the history of engineering or about the number of branches, but just an overview how is engineering in India, and we will be looking into it. So next up is that how is civil engineering branch in India? In this, we will discuss about the enrollment, placement, and also the obstacles which civil engineers are facing in today's world. And the third one is that struggles of being a civil engineer in India. Yes, it's very obvious. It's really difficult to survive as a civil engineer in the society. What are all the factors? We will be looking into it later on. And next is that common jobs people go after graduation. That's one thing I wanted to discuss with you all today. And most of the engineers have a common mindset that everyone wants a good job. That's so obvious. There are some people who are willing to take risk and think out of the box and lead their career in a different sector. Some did. But we have to accept the fact that majority of people go behind one another. Next up is that future of construction industries in next 10 years. So speaking about future and how will be the future, what are all the future technology we will be having, what are all the future construction methods. We have to update our technology because the industry is growing fast. We have to update ourselves. We have to develop our skills to survive and thrive in this society. Other jobs civil engineers should also look for. Apart from the basic things like civil engineers is not only limited to site supervision, site engineer or project manager, but there are few more options as well where we can also build our career. Some people might know, some people might unaware of it. I hope it helps the upcoming graduates who are doing or pursuing the engineering. The final is that what's the situation after lockdown? So how it's going to be? This is one of the important agenda in today's situation. The construction industry is also under the stress that how the situation we will be facing, what we will be discussing, and how are the situations will be for the construction industries, for the civil engineers and the graduates who are passing out. Will they be getting jobs, or how there will be a poor vacancy? We will be discussing in detail down the line. So moving on to the first slide, why engineering is a common choice in India. So in India, whenever one thinks of pursuing the graduation program, engineering is always on the list. As it first point says, engineering is one of the most common career choices in India, and the alarmingly high number of engineering colleges and students is a clear indicator of that. Yes, it's so obvious that this is because again time and again this field has shown how it has grown, adapted to the ever-evolving requirements, and given students the knowledge and skills to pursue a fruitful career. So the studies indicate that India produces 1.5 million engineers every year from over 4,000 institutes all over India. Yes, you read the numbers correct. It's 1.5 million engineers. It's a huge number. So they also say that which is more engineers than USA and China combined. But thanks to increasing demand in industry and improved scope, that's why people go and opt for engineering as their career and they want to pursue as an engineering in their upcoming years. Moving on to the next slide. Why the rush for BE or BTech? So a lot of people and a lot of youth generations in today's world are going for engineering or in different streams. So one explanation I would say is that this degree serves as a signal. What this means that employees use engineering degree as a signal that the graduate is more talented and capable compared to those who don't possess one, regardless of whether college education has any direct relevance or implication for the job being offered. Economists like Spencer say that signaling depends on both the institution one went to and the degree they possess. In Indian labor market, a professional degree like engineering, which is more focused on empirical ability than arts and humanities, has higher perceived economic returns. But if everyone becomes an engineer, then the signaling function of the BTech degree falls, and employers have no way distinguishing technically proficient professionals from those who are engineering simply in name. Also, you can see the snapshots which states the survey took by the Center of the Study of Developing Society. So the first one says that types of jobs preferred. Yes, 33% of people look for permanent job even at lower pay. So even if it is a lower pay, they don't much worry about it. What the people might prefer is that they want to have a permanent job. Next, moving on is 26% of people look for quality of work, 22% of people look for a good and decent pay, and 19% rest look for others. So the second one says that CSDS-KAS Youth Survey. The CSDS stands for Center for the Study of Developing Societies. So as you can see, the majority of people, 65% of people prefer a government job. We might have seen our own friends, our own colleagues who like after finishing the graduation look for government sector jobs. It can be anything like state government or central government, but majority of people look for a government job, and the 19 percentage of people wish to set up their own business. Yes, it's so obvious. When it comes to civil engineering or software engineering, software engineers look to go for startups, and even the civil engineers as well set up their own construction business or become contractors or interior designers. There are much more opportunities and you can start up your own business. 7% aspire for private sector job. Yes, it's so obvious that people look for sure look for the private sector jobs as well, and the 9% of people look for others. So without wasting much time about how engineering is working in India or what are all the disciplines or what are all the branches in engineering, let's move on to the main topic, civil engineering. Yes, as said by the great person, we shape our buildings thereafter they shape us, and it's one of the really a famous quote said by the great Winston Churchill. Moving on to the next slide, how is civil engineering branch in India? So one of these disciplines in engineering which stands strong and evergreen is always civil engineering. Civil engineering is a branch of engineering which deals with people, civilization of our country, their needs and basic facilities. So as quoted, civil engineering is one of the oldest traditional branches of engineering. It is a core branch as well as an evergreen one. So as long as there are humans and as long as we have natural phenomenon like earthquakes, tornadoes, civil engineers will be required. Civil engineering has a quite beautiful scope in India, but remember, you always have to be patient because it's not like a cake and walk for like how the IT engineers or the CS engineers will be getting a job. It's always going to be a tough path or a challenging task for the civil engineers to survive in this society until they get settled in their lives. India is a developing country. There are still many places where people are not getting good quality of water to drink, nor do they have electricity, nor do they have safer houses. People need roads to commute. Megacities need better transportation solutions. People need better standard of living. So what we have to do is that get some innovative ideas. So once this innovative and cost effective ideas start snowballing, there is no stopping to it. But now the question is, why don't civil engineers get a job easily? How many times we see layman's interactions with civil engineering? Well, every moment. If you just graduated from bachelor's or master's, you are still in stage of accepting the theories and not practically. And importance of safety. And if you start looking for some salary immediately, well, only few fortunate people can get the job because some company may require immediate hiring or they feel that the candidate is really impressive. So struggles of being a civil engineer in India today. Yes, I am also one of it. Like after graduation, I do also faced a lot of joy, struggles during my career to place myself in a core field. So there are some factors why civil engineers get struggled in today's society. First one is of lower pay packages. Civil engineers work hard as students compared to other privileged branches, but still the salary package which they are getting is really pathetic. Second one is that poor industry student nexus. India is a country with numerous underdeveloped cities and numerous civil engineers, and I feel both can help each other. Somehow, the union is hindered due to lack of medium. Few companies are still there to hire freshers, and still there are some startups who go for hiring freshers rather than expecting a fresh, experienced candidate. Urban planning, one of the most important topic and one of the most important planning to be done in India. India cities lack planning at major level, and honestly speaking, I'm not aware of any urban planning organization except for the government owned, which are not doing any good. Currently, I live in Bangalore, so let's take the example of Bangalore itself. And people who are attending this session might have been to Bangalore as well. I feel the roads, the residential areas, the waste management system, the commercial spaces, everything is in a total mess. And the good thing is that we are not learning anything from the past, and the new developing areas of the city are being developed with competitive gorgeousness. City planning could be a major thing whenever Indian polity realizes that it's important too. And it's one of the major agenda that people need to develop themselves in and their skills to do the urban planning in a much bigger level. The fourth one is that aesthetic appeal. As a country economic gets better, I feel our government will be focusing more on how to bring about aesthetically better and get structurally strong designs to impart a better look to the cities. It may sound show off when I say aesthetic appeal or waste of money, but to boost tourism, it can reverse the money in no time. So many construction design companies can spring up, and also it could be a nice idea for startup too. So who says can only IT people can have startups? We can do have startups. So the final one is that smart designs. And once I stumbled upon an Instagram by some really passionate designer who had used Google SketchUp to design a house which had all the essential amenities in minimum possible space, and it looked great too. Such ideas will be greatly appreciated in overlay and densely populated cities of India. So I conclude that civil engineering will lead you to a pretty tough, challenging, but interesting path. It's not going to be a cakewalk like IT engineers, as I said earlier, but the day you hit a good startup in civil engineering, you're going to be one of the most important pioneers of India. So Next one is that India needs skilled civil engineers for the booming construction industries. So as you can see the graph on the right hand side, civil engineering has less than 40% of placement rate. If you compare with the other branches, you can see the numbers of the civil engineering branch. The numbers are being given in thousands. So the blue indicates enrollment and the yellow indicates the passed out percentage and the red indicates how many students are getting themselves placed in any reputed companies. So as you can see, civil, the enrollment rate is 1198, but when you see the pass percentage, it's only 464. So you can see that how many people are coming out from the graduation successfully. And the placement rate is very much lesser compared to the other branches, that is only 174. And as you can see, the pass percentage is only 39 and the placement percentage is 38. So obvious that we are lagging behind the other branches in engineering. Why so? Why it is happening? Because engineering students are found to be lacking in areas of practical knowledge, technical skills, communication skills, and knowledge of application. So, for a country teeming with engineers, it is rather perplexing that placement rate of civil engineers was registered at a mere 38% during the period of 2012 to 13 and 2015 to 16 and 2018 to 19. So this dismaying statistics reflects the glaring skill gap that thousands of engineers graduating every year experiencing, finding themselves to be misfits under industry roles. There is an inherent disconnect between the curriculum-based learning in college and employment-ready skills students need to thrive in the industry. And one of the survey reports says that by the next year, more than 65% of our country's population will be between the age of 29 to 35, making a large workforce. Yes, 65% of country's population will be between the age of 29 to 35. So obviously there will be a huge demand in the construction industry, not only in the construction industry, but also in other branches, in other disciplines as well. There will be a lot of workforce will be available to the upcoming youth generation. And however, if the necessary steps to bridge the education employment gap are not taken, this potential strength in numbers will soon turn into heavy liability. Construction industry has seen sea change over last few years due to modern technology and integration with ICT, IoT, and interdisciplinary knowledge sharing. Projects of express highways, metros, airports, flyover bridges, tunnels are being undertaken in huge number in every state of India. Present day engineering curriculum is not at par with modern construction trends, and students have no access to experimental studies, which aggravates the situation. Yes, it's as I said earlier, every year close to 1.5 million engineers graduate from different colleges of India and different parts of India. The construction industry is expected to employ a whopping of 80 million workers by 2020 as per India Today. Yes, from the article as per India Today, 80 million workers will be expected to employ by the end of 2020. To fulfill this booming potential of the real estate space and plant infrastructure, however, the corresponding average supply available would be only 642,000 civil engineers, according to a report of Economic Times. So, why is there such a shortage? Such a shortage is likely to lead difficulties in recruitment, a rise in the cost of industry, ready human resources, delayed in delivery of tasks, and substandard quality of constructions. Moving on to the next slide, approximately 4 million civil engineers needed in the next 10 years. That is why there is a large scope for this branch, especially approximately 4 million civil engineers needed in the next 10 years. So everyone knows after the agricultural sector, construction is the next biggest sector in India. It's substantial to the infrastructure growth in our country and is the second largest contributor to our GDP. The need for civil engineers updated to modern technology and skilled enough to take up the challenges of creating world-class infrastructure is overwhelming to say at the least. So while India has a legacy of civil engineering, this field of study hasn't flourished as it should have and has experienced an alarming decline of 6.27% in unemployment. So people or the graduates who are going to graduate from engineering, the civil engineers, and who are already in the society need to buckle up and need to develop their skills, because the people are really getting difficult to place themselves in their core field. But there is demand for the civil engineers in today's society. So we need to develop our skills, our knowledge, so that we can survive in this society. Moving on to the next slide is that common jobs people go after graduation. Yes, indeed, it's true. And what I have observed that people look out for common jobs after doing the graduation in civil engineering. Says boys look out for joining in any construction site as a site supervisor role or a site engineer or a project manager. On the other hand, we can say the women or the girls might get as an estimator role profile in construction site. That is how the in today's world the people are going after one another. Either you go as a site engineer or a site supervisor. That's all. Because apart from this field, there are a lot of other things also that civil engineer can also apply for, can go into, can show off their skills. That is how the society is working, or most of the people have same set of mindset. So these three are the common jobs I have listed out here. Those are field job, research, and management. So moving on to the next slide, as you can see, field job, under that it comes under private sector, public sector, government sector. And when it comes to research, you can see people go for their higher education. Either they're doing masters in different streams for structural engineering as environmental engineering. They go for different streams, MTech or PhD. And even some people are still there who go for becoming a scientist in ISRO, BARC, DRDO. And if nothing is working out, people opt for management courses, that is MPA in IIM, PGDM in NITIE, or training institute like Enigma. And if nothing is working out, people go for some self-employment or completely go out from their respective field and look for a software job by completing any short-term course in any institute. Still, there are a lot of engineering students are still struggling to get a job in their core field. So most common jobs people look out for. So speaking about most common jobs, if it comes under private job, people go for any building construction or real estate. And if taken about infrastructure, highways, airports, SEZs, or else water resources, dams and hydraulic structures are being built, people go for that jobs. And the final one is that construction planning and management. And if not the private jobs, public sector, that is a majority of people look to go into is NTPC, NHPC, ICON, RIGHT, SAIL, BAIL, AAI, HAL, and NAL. If going into oil sector, people go for ONGC, IOCL, HPCL, and GAIL. So as we looked into the graph of CSDS and KAS survey, majority of people, 65% of people look to get themselves placed in a government jobs. So the government sectors, the most number of majority of people look for is central government jobs or either state government jobs. If it comes under central government, UPSC exams, IES, CPWD, railways, water resource, military. If not, the state government jobs, that is MESE or PWD jobs. Yeah. So that those are all the common jobs which people look out for after their graduation. And I have seen people, and I am looking people still now, still they are trying to get a government job so that they can get a good pay and also a permanent job. They want to be in the safer side. People don't willing to take risk in today's world because all people looking is to get a permanent job. That's all. So Moving on to the next slide is that future of civil engineering in India in the next 10 years. To be precise on point, I would say enormous is the right word, I would say, because the industry, the construction industry, need lot of civil engineers in the upcoming years. Large amount of civil engineers are required in future. We all know that the new government has turned a lot of heads and the attention of investors worldwide, and the future looks very promising for India in general. Speaking about the government or about the politics, I'm not a BJP supporter, and I know it's not time to start high-fiving yet, but it's pretty evident that sentiment is very high, positive than before. Students are unaware of the scope and the future of civil engineering in India in the next 10 years. It's really important that people or the students who are willing to pursue their career in civil engineering, they need to understand that there are a lot of opportunities for the graduates, and people have to look to go forward in their own respective field rather than jumping out from their field and looking for any other jobs or any other software jobs. So it all depends on time, but you can expect a bright future. So the construction industry is a feeder industry of sorts, be it any development project, technological, industrial, residential, healthcare, food processing, you name it, and it needs infrastructure. We need roads for transportation, we need electrification, and we will need water. These basic provisions that determine the sustenance of any industry from the secondary sector has already shown us a little crescent of potential scope in various arenas like airports, ports, malls, IT parks, healthcare sector, educational institutions. Construction is a basic action required for anyone to live in. It includes apartments, buildings, industries, plants like thermal, nuclear power plant, etc. So in the present scenario, smart city project is really a big plus point to a civil engineer, which is expected to expand further in future days. So there are the project, we all know the smart city project, and there are n number of cities under that project, and people will be getting advantage from that smart city project. Every city will be getting into develop. Some of them are already in the construction phase, and some of them will be get started sooner or later in the future. Civil engineering has a big scope in future days, and you can become very successful if you keep working and expanding your knowledge about it. So I cannot stress more on how the construction industry, but I do dare say indispensable for overall growth of our country. It therefore becomes imperative that there will be enormous scope for work in India for at least 5 to 8 years. Yeah, for at least 5 to 8 years from now on. But off the top of my head, let me mention some few big projects that have been envisioned or already in the pipeline. So some of the big jackass projects that have been envisioned or already in the pipeline is that first one is that Chennai Visakhapatnam Industrial Corridor. Some people might be aware of this project and some people might not. Let me give you in detail that the remnant part of Andhra Pradesh has lost a well-developed city, Hyderabad, so they are building a new capital in Vijayawada and aim to make Visakhapatnam their commercial hub. Large-scale transportation, buildings, power, and water projects are expected to come up in the state. Two towns, Nellore and Kakinada, are expected to get large ports, and proposal for a lot of food processing industries are on the table. Moving on to the second one is that Tamil Nadu Petrochemical Investment Region. A string of refineries to be established between the states of Kudalur and Nagapattinam port, adding on to this much needed interlinking project which will solve the water problem that this state, which is second most industrially productive state, faces. So the third one is that Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor and the Kolkata Delhi Amritsar Industrial Corridor. So speaking about this one, this is one of the most important project. 65% of country's population is expected to benefit from these beast-like projects, smart cities, IT parks, healthcare institutions, educational institutions, and everything. And the last but not the least, Chennai Bangalore Industrial Corridor And the Bangalore-Mumbai corridor is also one of the most important project which is ongoing, and the process might get finished sooner or later in the future. So speaking about demand, so how is the demand in today's world for the civil engineers, or how much civil engineers will be required in future, maybe next in 5 to 10 years, what will be the demand? Despite this, the role this branch plays the development of our country, many students often prefer opting for other disciplines. As I said earlier, people even after completing their graduation in civil engineering opt for other industries because either they will be getting a low pay, or they will be not seeing any promotions in their own profiles, and people go out from their industries and look for any software or IT jobs where they will be getting a decent pay compared to the civil engineering. This is mainly because students are really unaware of the scope of civil engineering in India in the next 10 years. So let us delve into the understanding of what civil engineering entails. Speaking about demand, according to a report published in the Economic Times, 95 billion square feet is the predicted demand in the real estate and construction industry by 2020. Yes, based on the report entitled Real Estate and Construction Professionals in India by 2020, the Royal Standard Chartered of Surveyors predict that there is a demand supply gap ranging between 82% and 86% of skilled civil engineers, architects, and others. So this means that our country needs 4 million skilled civil engineers until next year. Yes, the numbers are predicted as 4 million civil engineers will be required until next year. So despite such high demand, the sector lacks sufficient workforce to meet this demand. As we have seen in the first or the second slide itself, there are 1.5 million engineers are coming out from 4,000 different institutes, but still there is a work sufficient lag in workforce to meet this demand. There are few statistics that make it clear, and there is a massive demand for these professionals in the near future. Built environment, compromising construction, and real estate related activities is one of the major contributors of Indian economy that people need to understand. The people who are doing civil engineering and people who are in the final year and who will be hitting the field, they need to understand that major contributors of Indian economies are the construction industries, and the real estate people are one of the major contributors to the Indian economy. So moving on to the next one is that growth. Speaking about growth, we as India are in the developing phase, and we are developing not only in the construction sector, also in the software, IT related fields. We are developing our technologies, and we are growing as a country in the upcoming years. Speaking about growth, as a country, we are developing faster than ever, especially when it comes to infrastructure. As you can see from the background image, many people might know about this bridge. 40 years ago, nobody would have thought that commute between Bandra and Borivali could have been completed in lesser than 40 to 50 minutes. Developments is still bound to grow. If students are willing to work on groundbreaking developments, civil engineering provides them with a room to grow and chance to come and a chance to hone their skills in their respective field. The third one is that how is the international market value for the civil engineering or for the civil engineers? The future of civil engineering is not just limited to the geographical boundaries of our country. So according to a report by the Global Market Insights, they state that the civil engineering industry is expected to reach a size of 11.7 trillion USD by 2025. I repeat the numbers. The civil engineering industry is expected to reach a size of 11.72 trillion USD by the year of 2025. So one of the main reasons for such rapid development of this engineering discipline is that the rise in population and urbanization. Yes, by completing a program from one of the best engineering institutes, students can work on sustainable infrastructure solutions, green buildings, and more all over the globe. Not only in India, people can roam around the globe. There are a lot of projects are ongoing, and people can benefit from the future projects. And the last is that variety. So today's civil engineering is not just related to constructing roads, buildings, and bridges. So due to the advancement in the technology and industry demand, this branch is further divided into 4 to 5 types, as you can see. Those are hydraulic, coastal and ocean, structural, materials, and the most important thing is that urban. Civil engineering aspirant can consider below a career. So we people who are the civil engineering aspirants can consider in any one of the engineering inches mentioned below. So these are just few fields. As we develop, these branch will have lot more to offer than it did in 10 years from now on. So these are the few points that explain how and why this sector will boom very soon. This field has a lot to offer. All we need to learn is how to make the most of it with the right kind of education and skills. With this unique combination, civil engineering aspirants are set for a brighter tomorrow. So that's it for the how will be the future of civil engineering in the next 10 years. So make the most of it, develop your knowledge, develop your skills with the unique combination, with the right amount of knowledge. You will be getting placed in yourself in a reputed company, and you will be having a bright future sooner or later. Yeah. So talking about the future, 3D printing technology. Many people might have aware of what 3D printing technology and how it really works. So as the tagline says, the future of construction. Yes, indeed, it's true. It is going to be the future of our construction. So what exactly is 3D printing technology? So a 3D printing technology is that a construction 3D printing printer is a machine that can build houses by depositing a material, say concrete. Um, Generally, however, it is going to be a concrete layer by layer. Concrete 3D printing, aka Construction 4.0, is a similar 3D printing technology to the one that Triple F 3D printers use. The Triple F stands for Fused Filament Fabrications. So these paste type material, in this case, concrete or earth material, is pushed through a nozzle in layers to print the buildings in 3D. The concrete 3D printing is the construction industry helps the people to save time, effort, and material compared to the traditional construction methods. But we have to note that 3D printers are not yet capable of creating a fully functional house. Only the frame and walls of the house are built. Other elements such as window, electricity, or plumbing needs to be installed separately. So we have to note the point. And but the concrete 3D printers can also be used to print bridges, benches, or simply outdoor decorations. So there might be some disadvantages or limits to this technology, but still we have to accept the fact that this is going to be the future of our construction. So moving on to the next slide, world's first 3D printed office building. Yes, apart from India, people from other countries, the other countries have started to use this technology to start building their homes because they know that what the future is. So as you can see from the background image, this is the first 3D printed office building. It's an office building printed in 17 days and constructed in 48 hours. The first 3D printed office building in the world is in Dubai. Yes, obviously it is going to be Dubai, the global hub for the development of this technology. Built with iconic Emirates stars, the office of the future is the world's first 3D printed office, and it is located in Dubai. They have constructed this building back in 4 years back. I think it's in 2016. So people are from in other countries have started developing their skills and they have started to prepare themselves for the future. So these are some of the interior images of those office. So the basic building took 17 days to print, but then needed to be finished both internally and externally. So as you can see the snapshots, how beautiful it is designed, not only from the exterior, but also the interior works also looks magnificent. So how to build 3D printed house? So how exactly this works? So more than explaining verbally, I'll just show you a video behind it that how exactly this technology works. Yes, you can see the video. How 3D printers use extrusion technology. Some construction 3D printers look like supersized desktop, that is a triple of fused filament fabrication or FDM 3D printers, gantry style, where areas other consist of a rotating mechanical arm. As you can see on the video, you might see that a large machine is being placed on the field and it just starts to build the house. You just have to give in the program and automatically it will start constructing the building layer by layer. The printer creates the foundation and walls of the house or building layer by layer. So in both the cases, paste-type components such as concrete are used as filament. The material is pushed out a special nozzle to form layers. To put it simply, yeah, that's it about the video. So you might have seen that how they are building the 3D printing houses in today's world. So the ground is literally the printer's build plate. Some concrete 3D printers, however, are used to 3D print brick molds. When molded, the bricks are then piled up top each other manually. So any technology is being introduced in today's world, there will be some benefits and also there will be some limitations to it. Speaking about the advantages and disadvantages of this 3D printing technology is that benefits are those eco-friendly. Yes, obviously it's an eco-friendly 3D printed house can built with organic eco-friendly materials. Moreover, some houses 3D printer use solar energy and generate low carbon dioxide emissions. The second one is that affordable. Speaking about affordability, how 3D printing can build affordable housing, but being of great aid for people in poverty-stricken regions or after natural disasters. The third one is that scalable. 3D printing reduces certain building costs. For example, if you take 1 square meter of wall using traditional construction method is approximately $75, where areas with the APIS core house 3D printed is only for $27. So you can see the difference of amount, $75 and it's greatly reduced to $27. Speaking about efficiency, so efficiency since the materials are 3D printed on demand, the waste produced by the material is very less. Also, constructing 3D printer can finish home's foundation in less than a few days. While suppose if we're taking the traditional methods, we all know that how much time it takes to finish only the foundation. It might take several weeks or even months. The last is that design flexibility. With the 3D construction printer, it's possible to easily create curved walls and unique facades because if we are using a traditional construction method and the contractors employing the people to do different kinds of model, it will take some time and also the end result will not be that good. But using 3D construction printers, it is possible to easily create curved walls and unique facades. But the good thing is that it is possible to 3D print furniture to match the curves as well. So those are the benefits of 3D printing technology. So speaking about the limitations, expensive initial investment. So 3D printers can sometimes cost up to $1 million, only sometimes, depending upon the project or depending upon how much square feet to the building should be constructed. So it can be expensive in the initial time. And the second point is that partially built houses. So 3D printers only build house frames. We have to accept that it can build only the outer frames. The 3D printing process is usually paused to manually settle plumbing, wiring, and rebars. So we have to accept that with the use of 3D printing technology, we can go and we can build only the exterior part of the building. The third one is that rough exterior. So most of 3D printed homes exteriors are not as smooth as traditionally built houses. So there will be a rough look on the exterior. So fourth one is that lack of certification. So construction sites are regularly regulated by law and there are important safety standards that need to be met, which can be challenging with 3D printing techniques, varying repeatability and dimensional stability, etc. So the important one is that the final one, harming local economies. Yes, another downside that has been noted over the years is that 3D printing can potentially harm local economies. So who are these local economies? Especially in poverty-stricken regions or cities with high unemployment rates. Indeed, since construction 3D printers reduce the need of manual labor, they create much less employment for local workers. So obviously, the manual labor work will be greatly reduced if these technologies are introduced in India's. The workforce will be greatly reduced, and people might feel will not be getting enough jobs in the construction industries as well. So speaking about the difference between, so finally speaking about the difference between 3D printed houses and traditional houses. Concrete 3D printing saves time, uses less material, and requires less manual labor. Even 3D printed houses have a rough exterior. Post processing is an option, just as it for regular 3D printed objects. 3D printed houses tends to be smaller due to the 3D printed built volume units. Yes, only a small portion or a small area can be covered using the 3D printing houses, and because of its volume limits. But this is not always the case, because the technology is developing day to day, and sooner or later in the future we can also see that the 3D print, with the use of 3D printing technology, we will be also building the skyscraper buildings as well. And therefore, yes, we can obviously say that 3D printing is the future of the world in the upcoming years, as it has already started in other countries. So sooner or later, we can expect these technology will also be introduced in India as well. Hence, we as civil engineers should develop our skills needed to survive in this society in the future, and also to adapt the environment. And yes, speaking about the technology, as it is growing rapidly and it's changing every day, we have to accept the fact that it is going to be the survival of the fittest, not only in the construction industry but also in other industries as well. It is going to be the survival of the fittest. So the important topic which I wanted to share with all the people who are attending this session, especially the civil engineers, other jobs civil engineers should also look for. So those are model making, 3ds max designers, drafting, interior designers. So people, speaking about other jobs, earlier we have already spoken about the common jobs people look after, but I would like to tell you a few more jobs profiles as well, where civil engineers are also suitable. Also, that those are the four important profiles. Those are model making, 3ds max designers, drafting, and interior designers. Because in the upcoming years, people really need to think out of their box to survive in this society. So for that, people need to analyze themselves what exactly they want to do in their career and should go accordingly. So first one is that model making. So speaking about model making, uh, changing your hobby into your profession, that can happen with model making. We might have seen people in our college and even of own friends who are not really good in studies, but they have the skill to do the model making of different construction marvels into small miniatures. Yes, we as engineers, we as students might have done these kind of miniature models in our college functions or any symposiums or workshops. People are really interested to do these kind of miniature models, and yes, you can turn your hobbies into profession as well. And people who are really good in doing miniature models and hold civil engineering degree should definitely go for it. And people who are already in it, I have seen people in Bangalore as well, people who are doing this model making are getting a decent pay compared to other profiles as well. So the photo you can see, this could be a sketch for a hospital or a school or a home. After receiving the sketch, if suppose say this is a project and it is going to be it is assigned for any one of the civil engineer, one of you. So this could be a sketch of anything. It can be a hospital or it can be a home. So after receiving the sketch, the model maker and the architect discuss about the design. How should be the result? How should be the output? How should be the end result of that product? And decide whether or not simple or complex model is going to be created. So model makers craft three-dimensional scale models that are used in variety of situations. So they use information and preliminary designs of blueprints to bring an idea into reality. With a simple model, so only with the simple model, they may create a scale model which outlines the basic 3D of the building. So if the architect decides that more detail is needed, the model maker may create a more complex model which he includes aspects such as scaled down furniture, trees, and people. So model maker also work in the film industries as a part of special effect teams. Yes, civil engineers should obviously go for this field as well, because it's not only limited to only constructing the miniature models of the reality of the buildings. You can also be a part of film and television industry as a part of special effect team. So what exactly they do in film industries or in the media industry is that, for example, the film director, if we wants to use a miniature model for some scenes rather than having to film on location, so after discussion with the film director to decide exactly what is needed from the model, a model maker will then create the piece and it will be used during the film. So model making is really a good option that civil engineers should go for it, because people will be going one after another, not only as going for the site engineers or site supervisors who have a good skill in model making should definitely go for it. Model makers can also work on, as I said, film set as part of special effect teams. So what does a model maker do? What exactly they do? That's what we have discussed. So model makers have the number of responsibilities in a variety of industries. Not only in construction, as I said, you can work in many other fields as well. So when working with an architect, the model maker will given the blueprints or sketches for the building that the architect is creating. So with a simple model, they may create a scale model which outlines the basic three dimension of the structure. So moving on to the next slide, I'll just show you a small video. Just hold on for. I'm really sorry, there is something wrong with the presentation. Just be patient. Just be patient with me. Sorry for the interruption. Just hold on for a minute. It's taking a bit of time. Yes. So sorry for the interruption. So our model makers are in demand. So what is the demand of model making professions? How much model makers are required in today's world? So also you can see the video of how the model making industry works. Not only manually, they uses different kinds of technologies to create such miniature models, as you can see from the video. So this occupation is falling victim to technology. So speaking about technology, once day by day the technology is being improved greatly, so the manual workforce are getting reduced because the technology is overtaking all the manual labor. So obviously this is also one of the field which is falling victim to the technology. So computer aided design, CAD software and three-dimensional printers allow architects and designers in many industries to create 3D models relatively quickly. So model makers will often work with others in preliminary stages of their job. This may be at an architect's office, a client's office, or in the special effect departments of a film studio. So once they have the designs for what they are going to create, they can return to their own shop or studio, or if they are working in a film set, they may return to work in the special effects departments as well. So once in their shop or studio, they work alone to craft their three-dimensional pieces. They will work in a shop environment with many craft tools and will often work longer hours because Obviously, it's a time-consuming job, and it will take much more time to complete a single project or a single apartment or a building. So as you can see from the videos, how they are creating, or how precisely they are creating each and every shape and each and every windows, the door frames. These electronic scale models can be easily manipulated and adapted to test numerous building or film set options and reflect ongoing project changes as well. So civil engineers who are really interested in model making should definitely go for it. And people who are really interested and have the passion to do the model making definitely should go for this career, and you will definitely excel in this model making profession as well. Yes, that's it, the video. As we can see, all the things, including the cars, the vehicles, people, all the miniature models, the lighting effects, how precisely they are designing the project, how well they are working with the furnitures as well, including the wardrobes, the bedrooms, the kitchens. This is how the model making profession works. Yes. The doors, the window frames, the walls. These are some technologies as well, though. Apart from manual work, they use some sort of technology also to create such miniature models. Yes, so moving on to the next slide. Drafting. Speaking about drafting, so all the civil engineers, basically all the engineering students might have done their EG, the drafting in their first year of first semester. So who are draftsmen? The draftsmen are both behind the scenes workers who create technical drawing and plans based on manual sketches made by engineers, construction workers, or other industry professionals. So most draftsmen today use CAD software to create their drawings. So apart from doing manually, people have started using different sorts of software. There are n number of softwares available in the market for creating such models. On one big advantage of using CAD software is that drafters can go into the computer and view, edit, or print the drawings, which is more cost effective and time saving than conventional hand drawings. But still, there are people and there are companies and there are firms who are depending still on the drafting, who are still depending on the manual work rather than considering the software work. So even with CAD, draftsmen combine their understanding of manufacturing and engineering theories with conventional drafting methods to create their drawings. So drafters can choose several areas of specialization, including civil drafting. It can be electrical drafting, electronic drafting, aeronautical drafting, architectural drafting, process piping drafting, and mechanical drafting. So drafting is not only limited to civil engineering or civil related buildings or constructions. There are n number of fields which can also be benefited from the drafting field. So who are draftsmen and how they are working? So drafting is used in almost every industry involved with construction and production. There are still, as I said, firms which ask the employees to do the drafting manually, draw the project manually, and the drafting on the sheets of the whole project without using any sort of software help. Yes, without using any software help, you can get your ideas into the drafting sheets through your drawings and expressing all your ideas and designs through drawings. And people are really getting a good pay working with such firms. In Bangalore, I have seen people who are working as a drafter till now. They use only their drafters, only their drafting sheets. They don't carry their laptops, nothing. They work for the whole project in the drafting sheets alone. So when a product is still in the development stage, engineers or architects put their thoughts and ideas down on paper in terms of size, material, and procedures to be used. So drafters take these thoughts and specification and turn them into a technical drawing. So obviously, when drawing a project or when drawing a residential building, you would be obviously taking them scaling down into the sheets. So drafters take these thoughts and specifications and turn them into a technical drawing. So there will be many engineers who are only good only with the draftings. Be it any kind of layout, they can bring out in the sheets through their drafting skills. but those kind of people might lack in software. So people there are still who are still good in drafting alone, but they will be finding themselves too difficult to learn the software. So they can obviously look for this kind of jobs and you go as a draftsman. So there are still films out there. You have to search for it, and you can definitely do a draftsman job in today's industry, and still you will be getting a decent pay in such industries. So being a draftsman is not an easy job. Obviously, if you are going to do a draftsman job, and if you are doing it manually, and if you are drafting down the whole project in the sheet, you have to be precise, you have to concentrate, and you have to take your time. So there will be pros and cons of this job as well. So speaking about pros, specialization options. Usually work conventional 40-hour a week, like the rest of other jobs. This work is also 40 hours week. Can work in various industries. Most comfortable, most work in comfortable office setting. Technical or minimal training required for entry level drafting positions. Yes, only minimal training is required because people have the understanding to how to scale down the project into their sheets and advancement opportunities. So anyone who is going to be a draftsman and anyone who is going to as in a software engineer, like in designing field, drafting is always going to be the basic before that. So drafting will be an evergreen field in future as well, in my opinion. So there will be advancement opportunities in futures also. So speaking about the disadvantages, slower than average job growth, expected job growth of 1% between 2012 and 2022. Yes, obviously people will go after designing jobs rather than doing it manually. We people look for softwares to do the job easily. If we compare with the software and the drafting skill, obviously the project needed to be completed. Drafting will obviously take more time when comparing it to the software. We can complete the same task within much lesser time. So obviously there will be a slower average growth, job growth. As you can see, right from 2012 to 2022, only 1% of job growth has been seen. So large amount of time spent in front of computer doing repetitive work, possibly causing eye strain, headaches, or wrist problems. So there are some people who draft as well as they work on softwares as well. So there will be some health disadvantages as well. So may have to handle stressful situations with extreme attention to detail. So while you're drafting, you have to be precise and you have to be very precise with your details, because you will be scaling down the projects and you have to be very much careful about what you are drafting exactly, how much the decimals or how much should be the units should be given. You have to be very precise about those things with the calculations, with the mathematical derivations. You have to be very precise on point. So often laid off during economic recession. So that is also one of the disadvantages of being a draftsman. But people should definitely go for these kind of jobs as well, because there is a lack of draftsmen in these industries as well. So definitely civil engineers can also go as a draftsman field as well. So important one is that interior designer. So I'm also one of an interior designer. So after completing my graduation, I did a separate course for interior designing. So now I'm doing as a freelance interior designer in Bangalore. So people should also go for interior designing fields as well. So what is the demand for the interior designers? So currently in India, more than 1 lakh interior designers are required, including designers who take projects as freelance designers. So this is an article posted by India Today on Jan 2020. So more than 1 lakh interior designers are required. That is the numbers. So people often get confused between an interior designer and an interior decorator. So let me give you a brief explanation. Who are interior designers and who are interior decorators? So a professional designer can actually identify, research, and creatively resolve issues and lead to a healthy, safe, and comfortable physical environment, while interior decorators are only focused with their concern about surface decoration, paint, fabric, furnishings, lighting, and other material. So that is the great difference between and of being an interior designer and an interior decorator. So Currently in India, as I said, more than 1 lakh interior designers are needed. So there is a lack of interior designers in this field as well. So individual today believe in in the individualizing their space. What is in the concept of designer space. So obviously, once they are done with the exterior work, people will obviously focused on how their interiors should look, how well or how good our interiors should be. So what is in and what is out of the concept of designer spaces? It takes a broad-minded approach to achieve an outstanding effect and can extend from decor, lighting, color, and of course space planning. So as an interior designer, you should be much more concentrated about how you are going to utilize this space, how well you will be utilizing the space of that particular project. Then Action now emphasizes personalizing space rather than enhancing space value. Office interior are now being designed in such a way that an individual is not lost among the associates who works there. Yes. Specially designed interiors gives an extra value to the experience and quality of use of our direct environment to our sense of well-being and therefore also the equal quality of our lives. So global trends are evolving and the Indian designers needs to be innovative and move ahead with the world. So interior architecture and design make a valuable contribution to the adaptability of our buildings over time and thereby to the sustainability of the built environment. Good design has an innovative and inspiring influence on work and communication process. Interior design, speaking about interior design field, is a dynamic process, a continuous interaction between the space and the user. So obviously, people are staying in home rather most of the time in these days. So it's a continuous interaction between the space and user. So the need of for an emotional culture in our living environment is risky. Work becomes relaxation, efforts become challenges. So today, interior designer, yeah, we have spoken about that point. An interior designer is professionally trained to create a functional and a quality interior environment. And the third last point is that interior design in India is now well synced with the global trends like simple straight line designs, Italian designs concepts, green, eco-friendly design, and smart automated homes to name a few. So interior designers, it's not only that only the architectures or other interior designing students only can turn into as an interior designers. Even the civil engineers can also be a part of this profession and also can start their career as an interior designer. So the field of home automation is expanding at a rapid rate as an electronic technologies converge. The home network encompasses communications, entertainment, security, convenience, and information systems. So green design is a concept of the West is also attracting attention. A green home designs waste and pollution out of the process by combining site characteristics, materials, mechanical system, and design elements to maximize the resources. So interior designing is one of the great demand that people should also look for. And if you are really interested and if you have the adequate knowledge and if you want to be an interior designer to express your skills, you should definitely go as an interior designer. Speaking about interior design specialization, interior design does not necessarily mean designing and planning residence interiors and other living spaces. So there are much more to interior design, not only about whenever speaking about interior design, the people who have not much knowledge about it might think it's only depending or it's only limited to designing the space of residential buildings, commercial buildings, or office buildings. There are much more to the field. There are several other career opportunities in interior designing from which one can choose is that such as furniture designers, exhibition designers, lighting designers, kitchen designer, architectural technologist, product designer, textile designer, stylist, production designers. So there are much more things to that. If you even in interior designing as well, you can specialize in any one of the aspect. You can be good in doing only the curtain designing. You can be a lighting designer as well. So there are much more advantage to this field as well. You can specialize in any one of the field and you can survive in this society. So interior designers should have adequate knowledge about designing software, and out of them, most important softwares are these, which is used by the industry in a huge numbers. Looking out, the major ones will be AutoCAD 3ds Max, Autodesk 3ds Max, and the SketchUp. And everybody knows about Autodesk AutoCAD because in engineering program as well, the civil engineers are used to learn about the AutoCAD. They know about the basics of the AutoCAD 2D, how to draw a plan, or how to do a plan, or how to do a plan 3D plans as well. We can do in Autodesk AutoCAD. But if you want to become an interior designer, the most important two softwares will be Autodesk 3ds Max and the SketchUp. These two softwares are the basic. You should be good in at least any one of the software. It's not necessary that you should be good in both the software. Even if you have one software, you can still manage to get a job as an interior designer. So those are designing softwares. So if you want to do the rendering as well, rendering softwares are V-Ray and Corona 3ds Max. This has nothing to do with coronavirus. This is Corona rendering for 3ds Max. So these two also one of the major softwares for the final output, for the final rendering. So two must softwares for interior designers. So if you want to become an interior designer, or if you want to lead your career in as an interior designer, then these two are the must softwares you have to learn. So SketchUp gives designers that speed and ease of use, allowing design iterations to be seen on the fly, and allowing fast output to various rendering platforms for creation of photoreal images if necessary. So people who are really good in AutoCAD 2D can learn easily this software, SketchUp. People who are attending this session might be aware of this software or might not, but people should definitely give it a try. You can also download the trial software from the SketchUp website. So it is much more similar to AutoCAD 3D, because the tools and also the line tool, for example, extrude, push, pull, those are the similar tools available in SketchUp as well. So when it comes to 3ds Max, Max is a lot more complicated and has a lot more feature, and is a lot harder to learn than SketchUp. So again, 3ds Max is also a product of Autodesk, but it is completely entirely different from the AutoCAD. If you are good in AutoCAD, SketchUp will be easy, but 3ds Max will be pretty much tough comparing to the SketchUp and AutoCAD. And the chances are that you will be only using 30% of the features of the software. Yes, if you are an interior designer and if you are using a 3ds Max, you will be using only 30% of the tools in that software, because 3ds Max is usually used in film industries for making animated characters and much more that. So for interior designing, we will be using only 30% of the features. So second thing is that SketchUp is probably the most popular 3D application in the world, even with architects, and has an enormous library of free content in 3D warehouse. Yes, SketchUp is obviously a popular one, and because of its ease of use and human friendly, because there's not much complicated tools or much complicated instructions to be followed for SketchUp, because it's really a user friendly software and you can learn within 10 to 15 days to be precise. And this is a much more easy software than comparing to 3ds Max. But the realistic, if you want an exceptional rendering capabilities, but to become truly proficient at them, it's a full-time job. So 3ds Max is like much more realistic, much more realistic renderings will be given at the output comparing to the SketchUp. So SketchUp is obviously best for 3D CAD design and drafting solution. It's cost effective and easy to understand and quick to learn. By using these tools, you can create 2D drawings, 3D drawings, and professional renders with it. So speaking about the rendering, we saw V-Ray and Corona for 3ds Max. V-Ray rendering is available for both the SketchUp and 3ds Max. But speaking of Corona rendering, Corona is available only for 3ds Max. It's not available for SketchUp. So you're designing in any one of the softwares. Either it can be SketchUp or 3ds Max. The final output or the final rendering can be done through V-Ray, and the output will be a really good, will be really realistic. But there will be some slight resolution or some sort of rendering lesser compared to SketchUp than 3ds Max. So let me show you the software visuals of 3ds Max and SketchUp as well. First, let me play the how 3ds Max software is and how the interface looks exactly. So 3ds Max is designed for the production of 3D work where the visual fidelity is paramount. Interior designers always work for individual clients and each project is different. Yes, each project is different compared to the previous one. So speed and ease of use are far more important than broadcast quality animation. So you can see this is the interface, like we can much design any kind of product. It can be a car, animated objects, any, you name it and you can create it. Any objects can be created in Autodesk 3ds Max. So this is the interface of that software. As you can see, some sort of webcam or something is being getting created on that. You can also do the animation effects as well, dispersion effects, particle flow support. So as you can see the rendering, this is the final output rendering, and you also can do the animation of it. So this is not related to like much more needed in interior designing, but yeah, here it is interior designing. What interior designers do exactly in the 3ds Max. So yeah, you can also create animated characters, avatars in 3ds Max. Also, it looks more realistic if you do the rendering. Interior designings. As a person who prefers the renders look more realistic, 3ds Max is the love of my life because as an interior designer, I prefer to use 3ds Max more comparing to the SketchUp. Yes, I've learned SketchUp also, but when I learned 3ds Max, now I started working only with the 3ds Max because 3ds Max gives much more realistic effects compared to SketchUp. So for instance, if you are working on an apartment with different rooms, after you have created with high quality images you need for each room, you can make a high quality animation to match. Because animation is not, you cannot do in SketchUp. Animation effects can be done only in 3ds Max. Yes, you can also see that the rendering, the final rendering products which are done in 3ds Max. You can also create trees, environment effects, atmospheres, trees, branches, grass. You can also go for urban planning as well. So that's it about 3ds Max. Let's move on to SketchUp. SketchUp is much more like 2D software, I must say, because you don't have to create the furnitures or the other lighting effects because all the products will be predefined in the SketchUp. You just have to get it from the 3D warehouse or the SketchUp warehouse and you just have to insert it. So it is much more similar to AutoCAD 3D, not AutoCAD 2D, AutoCAD 3D. The options will be much more similar to that. So it should be the path should be like that. First, you have to learn AutoCAD 3D as AutoCAD 2D and 3D. That is the basic for any software. And after that, if you move on to SketchUp, it will be much more interesting for you. Yes, you can see the interface of the software. There will be only limited tools, as you can see on the left hand side. Only limited number of tools, so it will be easy to understand. And you can also insert the products. As you can see, the predefined products. You just have to insert from the objects. So basically, if you want to blow away your clients and give them something that look more like a future photograph of their project instead of a basic representation of your concept, 3ds Max is the one for you because it gives you a more realistic effect of the output. Because SketchUp will be much more like a cartoonistic effect compared to 3ds Max. The choice is entirely depends upon your goals and requirements. If you have an interest in generating renders which looks realistic in nature and creating 3D animation, then definitely you should go for 3ds Max. Otherwise, if you are interested in creating designing 2D and 3D models, I think you will be needing only the SketchUp, not 3ds Max. So if you become expert in 3ds Max software, then there are several companies where you will be allowed to work only with the 3ds Max software alone. No other work will be assigned to you. Yes, I have given interviews in several companies where my profile they asked for is only for the 3ds Max designer. I will be allowed to work only for the 3ds Max designing software. I will not be using any other software, not even AutoCAD 3D. I will be working only with the 3ds Max designing software. So Finally, also, I would like to add on that no company prefers an employee who is familiar with only single tool. Even as an artist, knowing just single tool is not a suitable option for self-growth and development. There are few more for software available in the market. Those are like Lumion, Twinmotion, Enscape, Marvelous Designer. So the Lumion, Twinmotion, Enscape are such softwares. You can do the 3D effects. Only you can work on 3D of the building. Speaking about Marvelous Designer is completely for the making of animation characters. But how it helps the 3D interior designers is that you can create more realistic effects of curtains, fabric, cloths. So if you want to become specialized in only curtain designing or fabric cloths or much more to that, you can obviously learn Marvelous Designer softwares as well. It helps to render or create more special effects with fabric cloths and much more to cottons and other than like it is completely or more of like dealing with the cloth effects. So interior designings can utilize this software as well. So you should try to learn a variety of software to make yourself a versatile individual and who is capable of working efficiently and effectively with leading softwares of the industry. Always learn to widen your scope rather than bonding yourself in the knowledge of single software, because with only a single software like the basic software AutoCAD 3D you cannot sustain in today's world. You should expand your knowledge. You should develop your skills in learning different sorts of softwares so that you can go as an interior designer or also in different fields you can excel. So the most important agenda. So how will be the construction industry post COVID-19? So this is one of the important agenda, and questions are running through in everyone's mind that how will be the construction sector, not only the construction sector, but also the other industries are also struggling that how to improve their quality of work or how to thrive or how to survive in this after the lockdown is being lifted, because many companies are getting laying off their employees as well. Many people are getting removed from their companies due to the lack of insufficient funds. So there are several questions running through people's minds. So some of them are: will the construction business remain unstaggered after lockdown? Will civil engineers be able to get jobs amid economic slump? So in this era of economic slowdown, unemployment and national lockdowns, when the whole world is continually working day and night for saving their citizens from the wrath of pandemic COVID-19, we civil engineers and contractors do have some pertinent questions also running in our minds. So how will be the industry post COVID-19? So like many others, as I said, construction sectors too is reeling under the impact of coronavirus pandemic, and it is uncertain of post lockdown phase. The entire construction activity have come into a grinding halt. Neither the builders nor the prospective property seekers are sure of how the situation would pan out in the day after the lockdown is being lifted. So anybody, even the contractors and even the property sellers, are not have an idea how will be the situation after the lockdown is being lifted. So what about the investment that we have spent in government projects, on big projects? Sorry, what can a civil engineer do to counter the corona pandemic? So we will be discussing in detail about these questions which are raised in everyone's mind. We will be going one by one. So going back to the history, when the World War II was fought, some decades before, hundreds of cities were ravaged. So everyone must have remember about the incident. On the right hand side, you can see the image. That's one of the most heart-shooting incident which took place in the several decades before. The ruthless wrath of vengeance was observed specifically at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, in that time, when the nuclear bombs destroyed not only the present but also the past and future of that country of Japan was at stake. The construction has been revamped even more holistically. Just look at today's scenario. History is repeating again. A virtual war between human and coronavirus has come into action. This is not a weaponry war, but a virtual war. It's a wrath cannot not only be seen in some nation, but on the whole earth. So even after nuclear destruction, as you can see, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki incident, even after the nuclear destruction, construction had still started. Then why not after this pandemic war? Definitely, why not after this pandemic war? This is not a nuclear destruction, but as a virtual war or a bio war. Even after the nuclear destruction, people have still buckled up the seats, and they have started working with their developing their economics. So after this pandemic war, construction has remained a basic requirement for human beings from the ancient ages. Obviously, homes and construction is will be basic requirement for the human ages from the ancient ages, even going for the future as well. A home will always be the basic requirement for any human being, but due to national lockdown, it has been checked, but only for some time. Have patience, but not to worry. What we suggest to our community is that have patience and not to worry, because there will be requirements and there will be work will be started once the lockdown is being lifted. So we still observe the reverberation of the echoing of nuclear evil there. So those are the questions, right? Wait 1 second. Hold on for a minute. Sorry for the interruption again. Hold on for a minute. Sorry for the interruption. So the second challenge is going to be the most important, is that inflation. The first and foremost thing which we as civil engineers or construction industry is going to face is that inflation. As per the guidelines of health organization, mask and sanitization will be made mandatory even after the removal of the lockdown. The insurance of masons and other masonry workers will also be a thoughtful issue in the future, because most of the also the scarcity of labors will also be a major challenge for the construction industry. It will be a major issue for the contractors in the future for some time, due to the migration of labors to their own hometown, and workers from Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh and other states constitute major part of the workforce. So that is going to be a major challenge or major issue for the contractors, who will be finding themselves difficult to employ the labors. Resultantly, construction will also get expensive. The contractors have to look after these indispensable aspects for future endeavors in construction. And to make matters even more worse, monsoons will be round the corner by the time lockdown period gets over, and it impact starts to settle down. Yeah, once the lockdown is being lifted, monsoon will be a major factor that people have to look for. So obviously there are much more challenges awaiting for the construction industries and also for the civil engineers. So the monsoon could affect the generation of raw material, say cement, and also the actual construction work as well. So there are great challenges awaiting for the civil engineers, also for the construction industry. So we need to prepare ourselves. We need to take all the precautionary measures needed for to how to deal with these challenges, and how to counterattack with the challenges and make the construction work go smoothly. So another challenge is that many challenges lie ahead of the industry post lockdown, and given the situation, it is simpler said than done for many builders. So right from availability of workforce, as I said, supply of raw materials, monitoring workers' health at site, and more importantly, ensuring free flow of funds to execute the works without any hurdles are few issues to name. So these are some of the main issues that people might be facing as civil engineers, and also the constructors or the contractors or the industrialists or the real estates will be facing. So next up is that future construction mantra. So yes, you all guessed it right. The path breaking mantra for future construction is that design, manufacture, assemble. We all have to focus on the precast construction in the future to overcome the adverse effect of lockdown in the coming decades. So we have to go for design, manufacture, assembles, obviously. Briefly saying, we have to try and manufacture the building in the factory itself in the respective time, so that can also save some time and effort. In some green zone areas where few factories have been working, even today are under some guidelines. So however, in this process, workers precast the essential members of the structure inside the industries. We have a lot ready-mix plants and construction industries in our cities. We have many more construction industries and ready-mix plants in different parts of the states in India. So the projects are in Gamut, which stranded in mid-construction due to sudden announcement of national lockdown. So if we start doing precast, some indispensable structural members like beams, columns, slabs, etc., we can do that. So that will surely save time for standard in big projects in future. So the future construction mantra should be obviously go for precast construction, design, manufacture, assemble should be the future construction mantra. So with this, we can spend our time in a very constructive way. So these are the precautionary measures that we have to start analyzing what will be needed for the future, or how to tackle the future situation. So one of them is that the design, manufacture, assemble. So moving on to the next one is that virus-free building, myth or reality. Many people have the question that can we have a virus-free building in future? Can it is possible? So can we have a virus-free building in the future? The answer I would say is partially no, because nothing is impossible. As the technology is growing in today's world, anything is possible. So virus-free building is also possible. It's not a myth. People might say myth or reality. I would say it can happen in future as well. So today we have to accept that we do not have any such kind of technology, but for sure I can say that we can in the near future we will develop such kind of technology that we might have also virus-free building. So in today's scenario of pandemic, some government and non-government organizations have figured out disinfectant tunnel. Yes, disinfectant tunnel where sanitized raindrops keep sprinkling perpetually. But it needs good maintenance and also very cost efficient. It is very cost efficient. So yes, virus-free building is also possible in near future because technology is growing at a rapid rate. However, we do have some antibacterial paints in a market today, which makes the air inside our home purer than outside. Most of the people might have used these antibacterial paints, which makes the air inside and also our home purer than outside. So these are also already available in the market. However, some building engineer, budding engineers, and full-time researchers have been in up to this, and certainly will come up with a new technology in the future for sure. People are working behind it. People might have already started their work for virus free buildings, how to develop in the near future, because we will be facing many pandemic wars in the near futures as well. So we have to start preparing ourselves to tackle those situations. So yes, it can possible. So nothing is impossible. We can hope for a better future, and we can hope the technology develops more and we can have a virus free building very soon. So next up is that construction in economic slum. Contractors and civil engineers should be at ease, because even in lockdown, account audits of construction projects are being registered digitally. Amit, we do have this misconception that we will soon encounter unemployment. I again repeat that some do have the misconception that we will soon encounter unemployment, not only in construction industries. Many people have these questions that we will be encountering unemployment once the lockdown is lifted. Some students think that government will not offer any job for a particular tenure in the future, because people are being really afraid whether I can get a job in this society after the lockdown is being lifted, especially the freshers who are completing their graduation and will be hitting the society. They are in a really afraid situation that how will be the situation, whether I will be getting a job in my own field or whether I will not be getting a job. So for all these questions, these misconceptions, Indian economy is considered as $5 trillion economy and the fast growing economy in the world. I repeat the numbers. It is considered as $5 trillion economy, and obviously India is one of the fast growing economy in the world. So money has been reserved for crucial times. We should not ponder that we all are at our home. So they even don't need to visit their offices. Design engineers and architects have been indulged in CAD, Revit, StatPro, and many other softwares, and trying to figure out more cost efficient and innovative designs to be implemented in the future, or already which is being in the down the line projects once the lockdown is being lifted. So the research and the analysts are already into that and trying to figure out more cost efficient and innovative designs to be implemented in the near future. So in these months of lockdown, the consumption of petrol and diesel has faced decrement drastically. So resultantly, government did not buy crude oil from the other foreign countries as well. So these are the other points which should also be getting noted. So civil engineer, only solution for corona. So do we know, everyone knows that, do we know that but current vaccine is which we are consuming to fight corona? Yes, it is so obvious that people might think that this question is not logical. And as we all know, we do not have vaccine yet, but we all are consuming the magnanimity and aura of home to counter corona. Our home is our lethal weapon to corona. Yes, our home is our only lethal weapon to corona. So that is why the doctors, the government says, stay home, stay safe. So only the home is our lethal weapon right now to fight the corona. But a well-planned home is much more far better than a simply constructed home. So speaking about much planned home and a simply constructed home, on the left-hand side you can see the image. People might know this area. This is the Mumbai Dharavi area with other Mumbai Dharavi area, the worst affected area in Maharashtra with respect to coronavirus, because Dharavi is not a well-planned area comparing to the other well-planned area in Mumbai. And the Dharavi is the biggest slum of Asia where the population is nearly 1.6 million is residing. It's obviously not a well-planned area. And because of this, rather than looking at this at a micro level, assume it at a macro level. People should start looking it at a macro level, because here corona cases are more far than planned areas. So that it means town playing plays a significant role in defeating pandemic. So in future, not only urban planning, major role is that town planning also. The slum area should also be planned in a well manner, so that in future we should be well aware of, we can do the precautionary measures, and we have to fight and we have to tackle ourselves from these kind of pandemic wars. So only solution for corona is that planning should be developed, planning should be enhanced in future. Not only the urban planning, town planning should also be improved, and also the slum area should also be improved, because that is being the worst affected area due to and the most affected in area due to this coronavirus pandemics. So I hereby conclude that if we are looking to save the future after lockdown, then yes, absolutely, the time has come that we must pull our socks up and start looking for a better planning in the future, not only for the urban areas and also for the slums. So I hereby conclude the session. So any questions, you can shoot it down now. You can shoot your questions now with respect to the presentation.
So one question from Lokeshwaran.
Yes,
That,
yes, please.
and how you construct a building like a cinema theaters, industrial buildings, based on Vastu?
Vastu. Okay, Vastu is again completely a different field. So that's a good question actually. So people in today's world more often follow Vastu only in their residential home, and also people do follow Vastu in their office buildings as well. But if you want to follow Vastu in commercial buildings, say malls or cinema theaters, um, Vastu is like completely entirely a different field. So yes, you can. It is possible to build a cinema theater following Vastu, but we have to consider other factors as well, because there will be a lot of things related to Vastu, because your site should be in northeast, because I don't have much knowledge about Vastu. So people who have a good knowledge about Vastu can more detailedly give a knowledge about it. So that's how it works.
And the second question is from Srikandan.
Yeah.
His question is, which type of concrete is used in 3D printing?
So as I said, 3D printing, the same materials are being inserted in the field, like how we use in the modern traditional construction methods, using the sand, water, or the cement of different grades. The same materials are being used in 3D printing technologies as well. The same materials are being mixed readily and then inserted into that machine that comes out through the nozzle. So in India, we use different grades, and in abroad, they use different kinds of materials, different kinds of cement grades. So those are all the basic materials which we use in today's world. The same materials are also being used on the for the 3D printing technology buildings as well. So there is no change in the materials. The material remains the same. Only the technology is being improved.
Okay, sir. That's all.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And I personally thank Mr. Dr. Gopi Kumar for giving me this opportunity at deliver this stage. And also I would like to thank the SCAD set management for giving me this opportunity and trusting in me. And it's been a really pleasure to be a part of this webinar series. Thank you everyone for being patient with me and attending this session. I hope this might benefit some of the upcoming generations and the people who are in the final year students might get useful information from this presentation, and I hope it helps. Stay safe, stay home, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Engineer Arul. Hope all this session will be more informative for you all. I'm handing over the session to Mrs. Gauri Maheshwari for vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gauri Mageshwari, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, SCAD College of Engineering and Technology. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Department of Civil Engineering, SCAD College of Engineering and Technology, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the Speaker of the Day, Mr. Arul Pradeep, alumni I sense of appreciation for Mrs. Ashila Daniel, HOD Civil, and Ms. P.S. Nisha, Assistant Professor Civil, for organizing and coordinating this alumni webinar. Also, I would like to extend a special thanks to Mr. Arul Pradeep for inspiring us. I also wish to express my gratitude to our chairman, vice chairperson, managing director, and principal for providing encouragement and support. A special thanks to the organizing committee, teaching and non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. I heartily congratulate all the participants for their active participation in this event. As no program can become successful with a single person, I extend my big thanks to our department and college for their support and all our volunteers too. Thank you for making this event successful with your contribution. Thank you all. And another instruction, the feedback link will be available in the YouTube live chat box, and all the participants are requested to fill the feedback form to get the e-certificate immediately. Thank you.